Hello and welcome to the second video newsletter from the BLPS. My name is Rusty Gowland. I'm the president of the BLPS. And well, I hope you're staying warm on what's starting out to be a very cold winter 2018. Thanks for your feedback on our first video newsletter. It was overwhelmingly positive. So we're going to stick with this method of communicating with our members. And in this winter 2018 newsletter, we're going to be updating you on our strategic plan for 2018. What are the goals of the organization? So thanks for joining. So let me begin by reviewing the guiding principles of our organization. The first one is that the time to focus on preservation and protection is exactly at the point when a lake is pristine. A lot of people say let's not try to correct problems that we don't have. We have a very clean lake, a very healthy lake. But that's precisely the time that you want to implement protections, because once a body of water is impaired, there are very few, if any, solutions that can be cost justified. We're not going to do anything to restore the lake. It's just not going to be feasible. What we have to do is slow the aging of the lake. So we're lucky enough to have a pristine lake, and it's our responsibility, frankly, to do what we can to protect that. The second guiding principle is that we can't be of a mindset that we can just write a $25 check and shift the responsibility for protections to a third party. I sometimes say, this is a little bit crude, but I like to say that a body of water normally dies a death by 1,000 cuts. And what that means is that the cumulative effect of the little things that we do adds up to a big problem. And that's normally what happens when you wake up one day and find out that your body of water that is important to you is now impaired. It's not what it used to be. So our progress is really measured by how knowledgeable, how caring, and how involved the users and stakeholders of the lake are. So that guides our work. And our third guiding principle is that we not repeat or replace any effort that any other group has done or is currently doing. So none of the issues that we have, the risks that we face, none of them are unique. There are hundreds of lakes around the state, and there are organizations that are creating solutions that can be leveraged across all of those 100 lakes. We haven't done a very good job of leveraging them in the past, but the solutions are out there. The effort, though, to measure and diagnose and study our lake, that is unique to our lake. So we have to make sure that we're not repeating any of that work, and that we make the most of our investments in studying and learning about our lake. So the BLPS has been created to fill the gaps in what we study and to expand the effort and the impact of those studies, and then to leverage the programs that exist around the state, among the many nonprofits, the NGOs that are there to support organizations like ours. So with those three things in mind, that the time to focus on preservation is when a lake is clean and healthy like ours, and that we can't outsource the effort. We, the members, are the ones that need to really implement change. And then three, we need to make sure we don't repeat any effort of the past. With those three things in mind, let me walk through what our plans are for this year, 2018. So this graphic that I'm showing displays our organizational objective for the year. In the red, these are sort of our administrative functions, and in the green are the committees that we'd like to form, and in the blue, these are our programs. So last year we had two active programs, the lake level management and the invasive species. And this year we'll be continuing both of those and adding two more. We'll be extending the water quality monitoring activities on the lake and introducing a new green belt protection program. So let's take those 4 programs for this year one at a time. Let's begin with lake level management. So this was the first program that we started, and we prioritized it because of the shoreline, the extensive shoreline damage that occurred in the spring of 2016, caused high water and caused many of us expensive repairs to our shoreline and property. Bev Haas leads this program, continues to lead it through this year, and receives a good load of help from Rick Shearer, our key member research, helping out on this project. And we've had a great deal of impact here. Those 2 people are to be thanked by all of us. So after all of the research and our efforts that we've done, I can boil it down this way. We have a very large watershed in relation to the size of the lake. So an inch of rain can turn into 35 inches of depth in the water, an inch of rain through the watershed, because the watershed is 35 times the size of the lake. And what a watershed is, it's an area where the water drains into a common basin, being our lake, Black Lake. So because it's so large, because we have 5 rivers that flow into the lake and only one flowing out, when it rains, our lake is going to rise, and it could stay there for quite some time. So even though we have a court order to keep the lake at 610.2 during the winter and 612, 2 feet higher over the summer, it's not achievable all of the time. So we can't have a goal of remaining in compliance. We have a goal of draining the lake as rapidly as possible when precipitation or snowmelt is either forecast or has been experienced, drain it as fast as we can. Now, the Black River Limited Partnership, the BRLP, that manages the dam, has focused on the fact that Smith Rapids is the narrow point in the lower Black Lake, lower Black River, the one river that drains out of the lake, and that narrow spot on the river is really the hydraulic control. It is what controls the level of the lake. And the dam contends that they spill all of the water that the dam passes, which is true. The BLPS contends that the rapids allow greater flow as you lower the dam pond in relation to the lake. You create a steeper slope down through the rapids, less back pressure on the flow through the rapids, and more water flows. Everyone agrees that that's true. There's disagreement on how big of an impact that has. So the BLPS has made a strong point using data supplied by the BRLP that the effect of that difference is significant, and that anytime the lake level is out of compliance, we should be keeping the dam pond at its very minimum level, which turns out to be 609.5 feet above sea level. So the FERC, the Federal Energy Regulation Commission, has supported the BLPS and mandated that the holding pond be held at 609.5 through this winter season. And we're very pleased about this. The BRLP is contesting the mandate but complying for the time being. And as you can see, that measure has had a dramatic effect through the season so far. And if you look at the red versus the pink lines, that's the lake level this year as compared to last year. We started out much higher this year than last year, almost a foot. And we had a far greater, more than 3 times the precipitation during November that we had last year. And yet here we are today in early January at a slightly lower lake level than we had last year. So it has had dramatic effect to date. And this is the most important time to lower the lake level, is to get it low before the ice forms and the flows are slowed down by the cold weather. So it's been very successful in the drawdown period. We may have been in a problem situation had we not been holding the lake at 609.5. So our plan this year is to gather as much data through the season as possible about the effect of this change to 609.5, and and make our argument that it's worth continuing it, if in fact it is. So we want to study that data. We're going to need some outside expertise to get involved, because I think it strengthens our credibility. It will improve our analysis, and we're looking for the right person to help us. So the second program for 2018 is invasive species. Again, we started that last year. This was our second program that we launched, and we'll be continuing that this year. Now, the program was shaped by Terry Wild last year, and she got us plugged into the organizations that had assets for us to leverage here on the lake. Did a great job tapping into what was going on Mullet Lake, what's happening with Michigan lakes and streams, with Michigan State University and their work in this area. This year, Linda Sandvik is going to be leading this program as Terry shapes our work in Greenbelt protections and initiates that new program. So we're very grateful that Linda is stepping up into this role. She spent a great deal of time and personal expense traveling to Kalamazoo, Michigan for a summer-long course with Michigan Lakes and Streams. She's become a very knowledgeable resource and really set an example for how our members can sort of step up into, in fact, impactful positions and reach into the work that's been done around the state and introduce their value to us here on Black Lake. So thanks to both Linda and Terry. So this year and for the foreseeable future, we're going to continue the community outreach and visibility on Clean, Drain, Dry. And this is a program that is the best practice around the state. It's leveraged very broadly across the state. And it is a program that recognizes that the most common way that invasive species are moved, how they spread, is on boats and trailers. They're invasive species that are hitchhiking on those boats and trailers that are moved between and among the lakes in our state. So there is a very broad adoption of this program, and we're pleased that last year we kicked it off. We will have then the boat wash. We're going to have the landing blitz. We're going to have information at the state park launch, and we're going to continue to educate people on the risks and the dangers that are present with boats that move between the lakes. And our experience last year is that the visitors to our lake are overwhelmingly interested in this, and the methods that have been shared with us in this Clean, Drain, Dry program are very friendly. They help us be very approachable with people and just let the people that are interested, let them understand what the best practices are that they can adopt. So it's been a great program. The other great program that we've tapped into is with Huron Pines and their strike team that does eradication of invasive weeds and plants that have shown up on our shorelines. And we'll continue that program as well with sort of our vigilance in identifying invasive plants like the very destructive Phragmites, and scheduling them to do eradication in the fall when those plants are drawing their nutrients into their roots, and we have a chance to kill them. Um, and that's a process that has to be really repeated year after year to make sure that they're eliminated. So we'll be doing our boat launch work and our strike team work. I'm not sure if we'll get to this year, but I'm hopeful that we can begin a little bit of research about the zebra mussel that's had such a large impact on our lake. And that there are a lot of people that believe different things about the zebra mussel population. Are they spreading? Are they growing? Are they declining? Or are they just redistributing around the lake? What changes are happening and why? So there are some metrics from the water quality monitoring that we can use to draw some of these conclusions or learn more. And in addition to just understanding what's happening, maybe we can get some understanding about what will happen, not only in the zebra mussel numbers themselves, but we're also curious about, we know that chlorophyll A, one type of algae, has been in decline since the appearance of zebra mussels, but we don't know if another type of algae is stepping in to fill that gap in the food chain. We don't know what other changes that algae could have on the lake. So we want to understand some of the interdependent changes in the food chain and in the ecology of Black Lake. The third program that we will be executing in 2018 is an extension to the water quality monitoring that has historically been done on our lake. Let me start by saying that we don't have a leader for this program yet. We do have funding to start it, and the first initiative that we're taking out is a project we're going to execute with the Tip of the Mitt Watershed Council to study the tributaries. We have a good deal of knowledge of the upper Black River. We have virtually no knowledge of water quality coming from the other tributaries, with the suggestions for what may be happening upstream that may be remediated. So if you may be interested in this topic, it doesn't require a lot of science. It really requires that we leverage and learn from the work that the Tip of the Mitt does, and that we maybe think about what the possible next steps are once we understand what has been learned or garnered from that project. So consider working with us on leading this project, and the whole membership would thank you for that. So this area of water quality monitoring and why we're starting it this year and prioritizing it. Well, we have a fair amount of data that's been collected over the years, and it's not our intention to change or replace that program. It's valuable data, and there aren't too many gaps. There are recently more gaps, but not too many. So we can spot certain trends and patterns in the information. So we don't want to change any of that. But we do want to extend it because we really don't have the water quality tracking for tributaries, as I already mentioned. We hope to fill that gap this year. We don't have a lot of data on the health of the lake bottom. We know the lake bottom is changing with the zebra mussel doing as much filtration and then depositing the nutrients that it filters from suspended matter into onto the lake bottom, and what effect that has in the lake bottom. We don't have measures of the changes to sedimentation of the lake, although we suspect that there are depth changes, especially as the upper Black enters the lake. We don't have a lot of measures of invertebrate populations, some of the lower levels of the food chain. And we don't have strong links between any of these metrics and the issues that concern our members, things like weed population, swimmer's itch, and boat navigation. So to strengthen those causal links is something that we hope to achieve. So again, the tributary study is going to be our first entree into this program, and we're hopeful that we'll find a program leader that uh, that can capture some of the learnings and make sure that we define appropriate next steps after this project's completed in the spring. So the fourth and final program that we'll be taking on this year is the Green Belt Protection Program that I've mentioned a couple times now. And Terry Wild is currently shaping our approach for this program, and she's going to lead that program for this year. So thank you, Terry. And Terry has been plugged into the Greenbelt efforts of the Mullet Lake Area Preservation Society, and she monitored those last year and was really excited and impressed about what they've done and what they have to share with us. And maybe the key asset in this case that is leveraged broadly across the state is the Michigan Shoreline Stewards Organization. They have a scorecard that is a key collateral item for the program. It's a self-evaluation checklist that provides, well, a way to grade yourself on a number of different factors, and also to learn about steps that can be taken to make corrective changes. So it's not something that is used for policing in any manner. It's a self-evaluation for those people that are interested in understanding the impacts of some of their behaviors, and perhaps over time picking one or two and maybe making it a family a project to make improvements in some of these categories over time if they need to. So Terry is currently shaping um, uh, this program and what our initial steps will be in it this year, and we're all excited for what might come of it. So back to the organization chart, we just talked about four programs that will be active during 2018, two of them um, being continuations and two of them being new introductions. And now I'd like to just step through the four that are future programs that we don't plan to initiate this year, but will continue to shape our thoughts and ideas for that time when we have the capacity and the people to launch them. So they include the formation of a land trust, a function of interfacing with local government, a septic health program, and a marine life study. So each of those in turn, the first being the land trust. Well, this one is really a recognition that the best water purification system is nature, okay? And we humans are learning that over time, and really focused on it right now, that water treatment plants are very expensive and they're only partially functional. And it almost seems that as soon as you're done constructing or upgrading them, they're sort of obsolete with new learning. And everything that we learn says that the natural systems are the best. So the wetlands, the forests, the vegetated meadows, the floodplains, those are the best water filtration systems. Rain, as it turns out, contains plenty of nutrients, and the quickest way for a body of water to age too quickly is to overload them with nutrients. So the plants, the vegetations draw the nutrients out of the water in a natural nitrogen cycle, and the ground filters out sediment. It retains bacteria. Much of the bacteria doesn't live too long outside of the warmth of a mammal's body, at least the bacteria that comes from animal waste. And and toxins are treated by microbes that are in the dirt. So the best system of protection is to maintain a buffer around our lake, a buffer within the watershed that that retains water, allows it to filter into the ground. So we're lucky enough around our lake to have a lot of state land that really is protected land. We have a lot of wetlands that are part of the state's inventory, though the state hasn't done a very good job, in my opinion, of protecting the wetlands from development. Now, if you couple those protections with private property protections, we can have a very long-standing, very effective buffer around our lake. So where to begin? Well, the Watershed Council has a priority parcels analysis that shows the parcels in our watershed that are most valuable toward our goals of water purification. And we know that our program will factor in that analysis that weighs 12 factors of the parcels around the lake and shows us those that are most important for protecting. So that's what we know about that future program. The local government interface, well, Linda Sandvik in her travels last year came across a study by the Inland Lakes Organization from Michigan and a book that they published on fundamentals of local government interface. And I have to say, in leafing through that book, it's sort of overwhelming how many things there are that we need to do here. And they seem like very difficult things to do. So, but this book is very prescriptive, and we have a resource in Granetta Thomasy over at the Watershed Council, who is a policy expert and a mentor for organizations like ours that step into this new role. The third future program, septic health, our concept there, like the greenbelt protections, is not to have sort of a policing function or anything like that, nothing enforcement related. But there are plenty of people that would be very pleased to know what the best practices are for maintaining their system. And it may not be something that they think about all the time, but they would if they understood it a little bit better. So what we hope to have is a set of best practices on just what to not put into your septic system, but also what you do to maintain it, and and also putting together sort of a schedule of maintenance activities and maybe a rotation of third-party services that might move their way around the lake and get a concentration of business on a preset schedule, and in exchange for that, offer those services at a discount. So that would be of value to a lot of people around the lake, we believe, and that's our concept for that future program. The marine life studies is just a recognition that the food chain and the ecosystem around our lake begins with algae or even single-celled organisms and vegetation, macroinvertebrates, and some of the insects like those heavy mayfly hatches in the early summer that turn into those big blobs of decaying insect parts. And just what role all of that stuff fills in our lake. Is it good? Is it bad? The crustaceans, the fish, the birds, the mammals, they rely on the fish, on the crustaceans and the fish. So that whole circle, how healthy is the circle? What are the habitat quality factors that we need to be concerned with? What are the species that are best suited for this habitat? How are they doing? So gaining an understanding of the ecology from that perspective, and coming up with some action items for other programs that may improve that that view of the ecology. So that's it. Thanks for listening. Keep warm, get your flu shot, get outside and have some fun in the winter wonderland. And if the programs that I just walked through interest you, either the future programs or the current programs, and you would like to participate in any way, we'd be delighted to have you. I will highlight that our most important roles that are unfilled right now are with the formation of a nomination committee for um, adding members to our board, and the leader of the water quality monitoring program. We also need a leader for our local membership representation, development of BLPS membership, and expanding it. Those three are our most important roles. If you have any interest, please contact us through the contact button on our website, and we'd be delighted to hear from you.